I wanted to make another video tonight. I made a little bit earlier, made a video about the Trump speech in Seoul, South Korea. But one of the things going on in North Korea is that people have a void with their with spirituality, and I mean I think Trump tried to cover that a little bit. But as long as the people look at the dictator or the people in power as their God, they're probably never going to change. And until you can change that, then that's going to be the problem. So I have a lot of discussions with people that are atheists. I don't have any problem with people that are atheists. I understand why people believe in atheism, and I understand why you can come to that conclusion. And the conclusion is really easy to come to, and most people that are atheists they have a scientific understanding, and in science things have to be proven. If it can't be proven, then it doesn't exist. And obviously there's no way to prove God exists scientifically. There's no empirical evidence of it, and there's no way to prove that God exists. So that's where the argument ends. So if people say, I believe in God, and I think God made everything, then the atheist says, well, then who made God? Which is a simple question. And that's where it always goes. It says, who made God? Where did God come from? Why is there, or where's God? Who's God? If we didn't make the world, then God made it. Then who made God? Well, there's a simple answer to that, and that's what this video is about. And the answer is this: that just because I don't know, or can't see, or can't talk, or can't prove God, that God does not exist. And the reason I know God does exist is because I see the evidence of God's existence in the world that I live in. The trees, the ocean, the stars, everything that I see shows me something that proves that God exists. And I'll give you an example of that. I drive a Ford car. I get in the car every day and I drive it. I didn't need to see the factory, or I don't need to go back to Ford, the Ford company, to know that this car, they built this car, because I just know, I see the car, I know the car exists. And since the car exists, I know the factory that built it exists, because I know I didn't build it, and it didn't pop up in front of my door one day, out of the clear blue sky. So I know somebody built it and it came from somewhere. So therefore, I believe that there's a Ford factory, even though I've never been there. I believe that there's people that work at that factory, and I think people are assembling cars at that factory, because I have the evidence of it by the car that I drive every day. Well, that's the way I feel about God. God exists because of what I see every day with my own two eyes. And I don't need to see God, or I don't need to have God materialize in front of me, or I don't need God to talk to me, or I don't need God to, give me any kind of answers or anything like that. I don't need that. It is what it is. I mean, I do believe there's a separation from God in this world, and we're experiencing that. And I really distrust people that tell me they're talking to God. And I really distrust people that believe that, God somehow answers all their prayers, or God answers prayers. And the way that goes is, I prayed and God answered my prayer. Well, what happens if he doesn't answer your prayer? What happens if it doesn't go the way you want it to go? Well, then people will say something like this. They'll say, well, that's God's will, and God's will is always right and always correct and everything like that, which is great. I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to say. I'm basically trying to say that God is disconnected from us. We have no way of knowing what God is doing or not doing. We have no power or control over God. And we really, outside of being in existence, like my Ford car, outside of its existence, it has no connection with the Ford factory. I mean, it just exists outside the Ford factory. It was built by the Ford factory, and now the car exists, and the Ford factory is back in Dearborn, Michigan. I've got the car, and it exists without the factory. Well, that's kind of the way we are with God. We exist, but God created us, and God does exist, and we don't need to go through a whole bunch of mental gymnastics, about religious beliefs and all the things that God does or doesn't do, because we don't know. It's an unknown to us. For whatever reason, we live in a dimension that we don't know, we can't see. And you can't say that some people are more spiritual than others because they speak in tongues, or some people got it figured out because they belong to a certain religion, maybe they're whatever religion, but whatever it is, certain churches people, I mean, they're literally churches that believe if you don't belong to that church, that you'll be disconnected from God forever. I don't understand how anybody can believe that. That you just magically appeared in the universe at the right time, at the right place, and belong to the right church for everything worked out for you to go straight to heaven. I just don't understand that. I don't believe that. I just think that's a crazy belief system. But I do believe in God, and I believe in the existence of God, and I see proof of that every single day. And like I say with the people of North Korea, they have to see an existence beyond their dictators. They have to see that the dictators aren't responsible for everything that goes on in their world. And until that happens, there's always going to be a void in North Korea. There's always going to be a problem. And the issue, the real issue, is how do you get that message through to these people? I mean, if you go over there and try to talk to people in North Korea, and bring any kind of Bible into the country, and you see what happens to you. You're probably going to be in a slave labor camp for the rest of your life, or you're going to be killed. I mean, we'll see what, I'm sure there's people that are willing to take that risk. But I don't care how Christian you are. Most people aren't going to, take that kind of risk. And those that do, that shows that they're really true believe, and they really do have a faith. So, anyway, that's just a quick thought I thought I'd give, because I know God came into the speech tonight. Trump talked a little bit about it. He asked for God to bless the Korean people, which I think was a good idea. So, anyway, I appreciate you watching the video.